Welcome back, everyone. Today I'll be doing an in-depth analysis on Olympian and world champion Brody Malone's high bar routine and skills. What a journey he's having. Many people are aware that Brody suffered a very dramatic injury to his knee at the March 2023 DTB Team Challenge. In short, he had dramatic interior damage to many parts of his knee that ultimately required 3 different surgeries. In 2024, Brody came back to win his 3rd national championships and qualify to his 2nd Olympic team by placing 2nd in the all-around at the Olympic trials. Let's get started with the analysis on high bar. He starts with a mixed grip stem into a Zulum in or a one-arm giant full pirouette into a full turn out. He has done both mixed grip and reverse grip endings in the skill. He keeps his pirouette centered and does not reach around like the traditional pirouette. This allows him to turn his head and back away from the bar to achieve a more complete full turn. Notice his arm held out to the side. He will swing this arm down and to his side, and that allows him full extension at the bottom of his swing that helps him maintain his grip. He then wraps his arm around his chest, and this helps accelerate his second turn and gets his body back into a vertical angle to end properly in his handstand. Here's a side-by-side with Olympian Chris Waller. Chris really turns his back to the bar and opens up his shoulder angle with his heels down. They both have similar positions here. We can see they both cross their arms over their chest to help complete the turn and finish what is essentially a one-arm blind change. Very nicely done. Brody changes his hand into reverse grip and immediately stoops his toes in for a half takamoto or a half tuck. He has very nice compression at the bottom of his jam. Watch how fast and powerful he shoots into his half turn to a handstand. Let's take a slower look. He slightly bends his arm here, but this helps him turn his body and get his wrist rolled over on top of the bar. Instinctively, Brody shifts his hands to the center of his handstand before his next immediate release move. Here's a side-by-side with Olympic gold medalist Dmitry Bilozerchev. They both bend their arm and initiate their turn. Bilozerchev opens up a bit earlier than Brody, and this allows him to end in a more vertical handstand. They both shift their hands to center up their handstand. Really nice. Now Brody moves straight into his Leukin or laid out full twisting Dechev. He slightly bends his arms here so he can push the bar away and push his chest down to the ground. This exaggerates his tap swing and creates more power. This position is ideal in my view, with his chest down towards the ground and his body around horizontal and his heels left up and behind in this arched position. Now, what I call the fish flop dynamic happens and allows his feet to swing forward through the bottom faster and kick the toes up. See how Brody kicks his toes up and has a pike in his body? This position here is how he creates his counter rotation. Timing the throwing of the bar behind him with a very strong throwing of his heels down towards the ground causes a very strong counter rotation. One of the biggest challenges in a full twisting laid out reverse hecht is not to twist too soon, as this stalls out your counter rotation. Brody does an excellent job staying patient, finishing the throw of the bar behind him before initiating his twist. It seems the most common twisting technique on this skill is the swimmer's twist. One hand throws up over the head to extend the body and keep it straight, while the other arm strongly crosses over the chest, creating the twist. Really nice rotation as he grabs the bar here. He does slightly bend his arms in the giant swing out of the specific Leukin, but this will always depend on what position you catch the bar in. Here's a side-by-side with Chris Young. Both bring their toes down a bit, chest to the ground and very open shoulder angle. The toes swing through the bottom and kick up while they throw the bar behind him and push the heels back down towards the ground. They both complete their throw before starting their twist. You can see how their technique is very similar. Although they both catch the bar comfortably, Brody rotates back to the bar more than Chris. In short, the main reason in my view is that Brody's tap is more pronounced and he throws the bar stronger. Both very nicely done. Now he moves into another release sequence. This is a Casina or laid out full twisting Kovacs done very clean and comfortable into a nice powerful and straight arm giant. Now into his Coleman, which is a tucked full twisting Kovacs, again very clean and comfortable. This bounce in the handstand on the bar is the modern trend for Kovac's work. This is Peter Kovacs doing his Kovacs. He did a pretty normal giant before his release. My understanding is that Dan Hayden from the US was the first to introduce the bounce in a handstand tap beat for Kovacs. This bounce does a couple of things. It allows you to use the spring of the bar to create power, and also it delays the normal pike arch pike tap beat that causes the late kick to carry you back over the bar. Here's his tap, pike, arch, pike, and kick over the bar. Once he kicks into his flip rotation, he initiates his twist. He can see the bar almost the entire time during the skill. At this point, it looks like a Gaylord 2 because he's flipping forward, but now he just adds a half twist as he puts one hand on the bar. His body is still twisting a bit to be squared off as his second hand reaches the bar and squares off the skill. He catches at a very comfortable distance to do a strong straight arm giant swing out of this Casina. Now he cranks his giants a bit and does the same Kovacs tap into his Coleman or tucked full twisting Kovacs. He finishes catches his kick squared off and this speeds up his flip rotation. Then it's just like a layout full twisting Kovacs, except it flips faster due to the being in a smaller tucked position. Again, seeing the bar throughout most of this skill. Very nice to a straight arm giant out. Here's a side by side with Olympic champion Kohei Uchimura. They have the same Kovac's handstand bounce on top before the release, except Uchimura's swing is more exaggerated than Brody's. This results in Uchimura having a faster, stronger flip rotation than Brody. Uchimura has a much more closed shoulder angle than Brody, and his body is rotated over more. This is due to his more jerky, aggressive tap swing. At the upside down point, Uchimura has slightly completed more of his twist, and he's squared off a bit faster than Brody, but they both catch comfortably and have very clean form throughout. Now, Brody goes into his layout Dechev into an immediate straddle Dechev. His tap swing is different on this layout Dechev compared to his full twisting Dechev because this one is done out of a Chinese tap. Very deep pike here, chest down to the ground with toes left behind. Watch here as his shoulders hardly move as his feet pass through the bottom of the swing and kick up. This is what I call the fish flop dynamic. This is a beautiful release position. He stays straight with a slight hollow position as he flies back over the bar. This is a very accurate distance from the bar as he catches to set up for his next Dechev. He quickly pushes his chest down to the ground, again kicking his toes up, and performs the same action here as he did on his laid out Dechev. It's very nice rotation and a clean catch of the bar. Here's a side by side with world champion Artur Mariano. I've already analyzed Brody's sequences, so take a look and see if you can see any small similarities or differences. I would say they're very similar, with the biggest difference being that Mariano does not do a Chinese tap entry into his layout Dechev, but they both use very similar techniques. Nicely done. Now Brody does a blind change through a nice handstand position. Next, he does a full takamoto catch and mix grip. This looks very similar to his half takamoto here, but instead of shifting his hands and stopping in a handstand, it's very important to post on the support arm to create time to finish the turn. He continues turning to complete a full turn. Brody is very far over vertical at the completion of the skill, but he does square up very well and keeps support on his post arm throughout. Here's a side by side with Olympic champion Epke Zonderland, or the Flying Dutchman. Epke jams his body up earlier and hits more of a vertical position. He is also much faster to post on his support arm, and this helps him to complete the full turn and square off more vertically. He catches both hands in reverse grip, which is considered more difficult than the mixed grip that Brody catches in. They both swing comfortably into their next skill. He catches his hot full turn over the bar just slightly past vertical, but very squared up and nice control. Now on to his dismount. It's almost compulsory to do a laid out double-double these days. That's a laid out double backflip with 2 twists. He uses a Chinese tap for his dismount. In slow motion, it looks more exaggerated as he hits a deeper pike on top of the bar. He has a strong arch with his legs left behind, ready to kick his body into the dismount. A slight form break in his legs here. One of the most common mistakes on this dismount is to twist too early. This can cause the flip rotation to stall or slow down. Brody is very patient and squared off before initiating his twist. This is very good technique. I use the same dismount, and I always thought to myself, initiate the double layout and then do a double full. This is what Brody's dismount looks like to me. He has plenty of time to spot the ground and makes a great stuck landing. Brody does some really great gymnastics, and equally impressive, he's very mentally strong in competition and he's smart about his approach to his gymnastics. After coming back from such a complex injury, in my mind, he's already succeeded. He can simply shoot for a great competition and medals at the Olympics, and I imagine he has much more ambition in him. As always, thanks for checking out my analysis, and I hope you got some value out of it. Always feel free to like and subscribe, as this will notify you when I post more videos like this. Feel free to leave any thoughts or suggestions in the comments. Until next time, all my best and rock on.